Hello and welcome, Exiles, to look at Relic of the Pact Gladiator on 10 Divines. This is probably one of the most interesting, unique skills in the game, and I'm going to go through the mechanics bit by bit. It starts out with the wand, Relic of the Pact. It gives you a unique skill called Blood Sacrament. Specifically, this skill has a baseline 2% reservation, and you channel it up, basically reserving more and more of your HP until boom, you explode. But you'll notice the gameplay here, I'm just one click boom, one click boom, one click boom, and there's a unique way about how we go through doing this. Now, I have a video from almost 3 or 4 years ago when I did the Relic of the Pact Descendant way back when that explains this more in depth, but the simple answer is we want 92 or 91% reduced reservation efficiency with specifically ideal links such as Awakened Brutality, crit damage, and Second Wind, and that will result in only needing to do one tick of channel to reserve 91% of your life for a big explosion. Now, why do we want to reserve that much life? Quite simply put, the skill's damage is based on how much life you reserve. It says, hey, you have 80% more damage with hits per 10 flat life reserved. So we're reserving like 18,000 life. That's a lot of more multiplier. The skill has a very small base damage, but if you can reserve a bunch of life, it has a huge multiplier on it, and that's how we get such a high, massive fizz hit. On top of that, the more life percentage you reserve, the bigger your base radius. You'll notice we have a fairly large AoE on this character, and that's only with a little bit of increased AoE because the base radius is so large. So, reserve a bunch of HP, get a big multiplier, and you want to get the reduced reservation to 92. Now, how do we get that number? It's pretty simple. Thanks to the new Breach unique rings. Each one of these unique rings have a reduced reservation efficiency of skills roll that goes from 20 to 35. We specifically want either 26 or 27. I'd recommend 27. And then we combine that with the new Rune Graft of Treachery, which gives 15% increased reservation, which means this is going to give you net negative 12% reduced reservation efficiency, and you combine that 12 net negative with the Essence Worm, which gives 80% reduced reservation efficiency. That's how you hit that magical number 92. Again, you can check out my old video if you want a better explanation on why this is. It's just to make it so we can one tick cast our explosion and get all that damage instantly without having to wait around and channel it up to go boom. Now, aside from that, we are also going to be scaling a lot of life because the skill gets a damage multiplier based on how much life you reserve, so we want a lot of life for that purpose. But thanks to having a lot of life, that also enables what is quite probably my favorite item in the game, Wrathpith Globe. You've seen it a million times on this channel. It gives hella crit chance and hella spell damage. What more could you want on a character that gives a bunch of damage multiplier based on having life than Wrathpith Globe? There is no other option. This thing is huge. It also works perfectly with Dissolution of the Flesh. Even though we are sacrificing a bunch of life every time we cast, and even though our life pool looks really scary, like we have no HP to show for it, we actually are quite a bit tankier than you might think when looking at the footage, because our life pool is not based on the red life. It's based on the grayed out portion of the life, whether or not it's reserved or not. That's our actual HP pool. So what happens is the enemies have to then deal damage to reserve our life. Even though we're spending all of our life all the time, that's not a big deal because our unreserved life is what the enemy actually has to deal damage to in order to kill us. Now, there was a big hole in Relic of the Pact's defense because what could happen is you could get a little bit of damage done to you, which would then lock you out of being able to cast, and you would just get chip damage until you died. That was one of the biggest issues of the build. I still love the build. It was a lot of fun to play, but this league, we have solved that with Blood Barrier. Quite probably my favorite ascendancy node of all the Bloodline ascendancies is this Corruption's Embrace ascendancy for a few reasons. Shepherd of Souls, great for Val skills. Everlasting Sacrifice, really cool max res scaling. But most cool of all these is Sacrifice of Blood. Sacrifice of Blood says, hey, up to 30% of your total HP pool, you can regen a special barrier. You'll see in the top left corner, we have a blood barrier for 6,001. That's 20% of our 20k 6 life pool. And the way it works is it gives you regen that matches your life regen if you are counted as full life. Now, this wouldn't be too useful on a character like this if we're always reserving our life, but there is an item that allows you to force in permanent full life or counting as full life, known as the Coward's Chains, a really cheap common unique you can find in Incursion. This unique says you count as full life when you're cursed with vulnerability, and it curses you with vulnerability. So you permanently count as full life. Just as a note here, you do not count as full life, thus not counting as low life. You still count as low life, you just count as both, if that makes sense. So we still get the damage from Pain Attunement with all the benefit of being full life to be considered for the damage multiplier that is Pain Attunement. So hopefully that makes some sense. So we have a bunch of life scaling that's giving us damage multiplier. We have permanent full life, which gives a barrier that lets us regen. And this works perfectly with Dissolution. I've played Dissolution builds a lot. Some of the most annoying parts about Dissolution is you get chip damage that takes you out slowly. This protects heavily on top of that, which leads me into my next point is why are we playing Gladiator? Specifically because Glad Lucky Block feels amazing with Dissolution of Flesh. Right now, I'm fairly convinced for quality of life, this is the best choice for a Dissolution build like this, or for full damage, you can still go Scion like I did in my previous version. But Glad, I am definitely becoming to be a big fan of. On our character, we have 78 attack block and 67 spell block. With Lucky, that is quite efficient, and we don't end up having to spend too many nodes for block. We obviously still have 4 points here, 5 points here, and 2 points here. But I think all things considered, that's pretty well worth the amount of tank that gives the character. Now, aside from the block, aside from the life scaling, how are we scaling damage? We're using the Entropic Devastation gloves. We are a pure physical build with the spell being base fizz. And it's really easy to include Entropic Devastation because these all this life scaling gives us a bunch of crit chance. The wand has built-in lucky crit chance while on low life on the wand. So it's pretty easy to tie in Entropic Devastation just to guarantee impales with some high increased impale effect. On top of that, Pride Impale Watcher's Eyes are not expensive. We got a +2 Impale Watcher's Eye for like 70-80 chaos, so 1 mod, and it works out great. As well as we also can sometimes get some decent corruptions for not too expensive. So that is what we got there on Entropic Devastation for physical scaling. So yeah, that covers the baseline of the character. All in all, I think as far as builds go that have to do with good bang for your buck, this is probably like an S tier build in regards of investment versus power you get out of it. Relic the Pact is it's just crazy strong. Granted, on a league start, if you try to make this character on a league start, you wouldn't be able to go for Apostate and a Entropic Devastation right away because these are Uber drops. And the Relic of the Pact wand on a league start is closer to 5 divines to 10 divines. Excuse me, sorry. On a league start, but even then, it's still insane power for the price because you can go Calm's Heart, you can go life-based gearing initially, and you can still really, really destroy the content. So yeah, that is the 10D Gladiator. Hopefully I explained all the basic stuff, and that will be probably our last video for PoE 1. Now we're going to be gearing up for PoE 2 stuff because, man, they came away really fast forcing the PoE 2 league. So yeah, that's what we're heading on over to. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care, peace out, and have a good one.